What's going on, everybody? We're back with another episode of the Heights Garage's Shop Talk. Yes, another solo episode. I know you guys really like guests. I really like having guests on and everything. It's super fun. You get to pick someone else's brain, and I don't have to talk to myself because essentially that's what I'm doing. I'm just talking to myself. And I mean, it's fun, but God, I don't know, kind of sound like a D-bag, right? Because it's like, oh, this guy really loves talking to himself. He really loves hearing his voice, and it's not even that. You know, we created this podcast because, like I said, we want to talk to other people. We want the industry to grow. We want people to understand where we're coming from, where our passion comes from, where our desire for more tools comes from. But yeah, quick update, I guess. We'll do another little update. This past week, it wasn't necessarily a rough one at work. We had good times and stuff. It was fun. We enjoyed ourselves. I had no real bad reviews. All I can say is, man, it's been tiring. We recently, on Saturday, May 20th, we had another pop-up shop. And that thing, to say the least, it was tiring, right? It's a whole nother beast, man. And again, I don't want to come on here and just talk about ourselves and stuff like that, but we'll just bring this up to let you guys know, like, what we were doing. And, if any of you are going through the same thing, you guys, you're not alone. So anyways, it was a pop-up shop, and leading up to this pop-up shop, we got shirts. We got a bunch of different color shirts. Bunch of different sizes. We had this print specific for this pop-up event, and oh my god, it was just so much. So every day I was like, all right, I'm gonna kind of vlog this. I don't know how to really do this or whatever, but we're gonna do it so that we can show people what we do to get ready for these events, what like our process is, where we go get our shirts, how we put the shirt tags on them, things like that. And it was cool. People were asking questions. Our views were pretty much up. They were like, oh, nice, cool, that's awesome. But again, we're not gatekeepers. You guys have any questions, we'll let you know, especially when it comes to our business. And yeah, so every night it was like, oh my god, doing this. And it was after work. Again, me and my brother have 9 to 5s, 7 to 4s for me personally. Well, I've been coming out early from work, but anyways, and it's rough. I work pretty far from where I live. I have to commute, and then I come home, eat some dinner, and then I start working on the business, start thinking about podcast ideas, shirts, doing all that. And for this specific week, it was getting ready for the pop-up shop. And again, it was making videos. And making videos, like we said, it's so rough, dude. You're like, oh, these TikTokers are making it easy. And again, I'm not saying like, oh, this is a hard full-time. No, like, you can make a good TikTok video within the hour, right? Again, it's hard because it's like you got to make content for a minute, so you got to condense this stuff. But I'm not saying like, oh my god, like it's the worst thing in the world, but it's hard. And again, being that I'm not a content creator or TikToker or anything like that, I'm doing it just to try to promote my business, and it's hard. So yeah, I'm making videos, prepping everything, getting the boxes ready. We're feeling good. We're like, all right, cool. I mean, we had a little, here and there with the event coordinator, but that's nothing. It's their first time doing an event like this. We were jumping in because whatever, but we're not here to talk bad about anybody. But yeah, so we were already kind of like, well, whatever, let's go, let's make our money, let's get out. Day of the event comes, we get ourselves an Easy Up, a nice one, really cool. It was on sale. We did it. Hell yeah. We got our setup going on. And real quick, shout out to the homie Pedro. I know with the episode with Roger, we were like, man, fuck Pedro, but we're joking around with him. Obviously, we joke with him. He's a cool guy, and he's a really cool guy because my whole setup was, all right, we're gonna do live screen printing, and I have an inverter, a Milwaukee inverter, and what that does is it takes your Milwaukee batteries, and you plug it in, and it gives you an outlet as well as the USB and the Type-C charging, stuff like that. So essentially, when I got it, the packaging, I was like, oh, all right. I got it from our Cornwall guy, Ozzy. Shout out to Ozzy, which is going to be one of our next guests, Ozzy Toolman. And he was like, oh yeah, like it's an inverter. You can plug shit in. You look at the box that says like, oh yeah, like you can power a TV for 3 hours. And I'm like, oh, I need that. I'm going to use that. I can use that for my heat press. So that was my idea of going into this pop-up event. I'm going to take this Milwaukee tool. We're going to do live heat pressing and we're going to run it off our batteries. That's going to be cool because we're going to get so much content. We're going to be like, oh, look, this is our mobile setup or whatever. But the only thing is I only have one of the big M18 batteries and then I have one small one. And I was like, that might not be enough. So I was like, yo, Pedro, because my boy Pedro just locked up on some nice Milwaukee tools. And we were actually not making fun of him, but like, damn, dude, you got money, bro. Because he now has like a big collection of Milwaukee stuff. So anyways, every time you buy one of those tools on a tool truck, usually it comes with a battery or, you know, a charger. And he bought a whole set and it came with like 2 batteries, a charger. And I was like, yo, Pedro, I need a favor, man. I'll hook you up with the shirt. And he's like, oh, say less. What is it? And I'm like, all right, I just need to borrow some batteries. And he was like, oh, yeah. I asked him this like on Tuesday or something. He was like, just let me know. Remind me again on Friday. I was like, all right, cool. I got you. And he was like, yeah, no problem. I'm like, hell yeah. So there we go. I'm excited because I'm like, this is going to be sick, man. We're going to take pictures, this, that, and the other. Friday comes, Pedro's like, yo, the batteries. And I'm like, yeah, let me get them. He lends me 2 of them, I think. I don't know. I got to double check. If not, he's going to kill me and I'm going to owe him a battery. But so we do that. We got everything going. Saturday comes. It was a whole thing because we packed everything in my 8.6. And those of you who don't know, the 8.6 got no space. I know it's like, oh, it's got a rear seat. No, the fuck it doesn't. It barely has a rear seat. So anyways, we get there. We're struggling. It's me and my brother. We set up. We're like, all right, cool. Let's get it. Again, we're going to do live heat pressing. That's the whole draw to our tent. It's like live heat pressing. City of Angels t-shirts, a bunch of different colors, a bunch of nice colors. When, you know, we really brought out that color wheel. We're like, hey, let's get something nice for spring. Let's get something nice for the summer. We got that. We got to have them pop. So we do that. We get there and it's not powering the heat press. I'm like, no, dude. So I'm doing different batteries. I'm checking the level. It's like they're charged. Like there's no way that it's because the batteries are dead. Like this is not Pedro's fault. We will not say fuck Pedro on this podcast again. He's my boy. Well, the heat press has to get as high up to 365 degrees for this particular transfer. And I don't want to get nerdy or anything like that, but it had to get to 365 degrees. And guess what? This thing just does not hold that juice. So now I'm panicking. I'm like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? The whole point of this was for us to have live heat pressing. People walk by. Ooh, what are you doing? Well, come to the back, baby. We'll hook you up. But no, now this isn't going to happen. So we're panicking. We see another one of the vendors. They do like those little pancake things and like the crepes. Well, the crepes. I like to call them the crepes. And we're like, oh, he's got a generator. So I go over there and my buddy's like, dude, you're just going to have to ask him. So I ask him. I'm like, hey, man, like, you got this generator. My equipment's not working. Like, do you mind if we plug in? I will help and I will pay for some of the gas. Don't even trip. He's like, yeah, man, if your cord reaches, cool. So that whole thing too, we forgot hangers and we needed the cord. Shout out to my sister, my family. They were like, we got you. They came, they dropped it off. So all right, cool. We changed the setup a little bit so we could have the heat press in the back, but we're like, all right, it's still visible. People are going to still be able to see us doing all this. And we do that. We run the extension cord. We plug it into their generator. Hell yeah, it's heating up. Beep. There goes the light. It's going up. It's ticking. Yeah. We're back in business, baby. Again. There we are once again. What are you guys doing? Come to the back of the tent. We'll show you. Well, guess what? It was still running too much power that it couldn't power their equipment and our equipment. And I was like, fuck, what's going on? Well, the guy comes. It's like, hey, man, I thought it was going to be strong enough. It's not. You know what? Don't even worry about it. It's your generator. Why am I going to bug out? You know, you were. So I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So we're sitting there. I'm sitting there in shame. I'm embarrassed. I'm like, dang, dude, all this work. I'm freaking tired, man. Like, we're here. We told everybody this is what was going to happen. We were going to press shirts. We got all these nice colors. And we just have the blank shirts laying out on this table so that people can come in and be like, oh, like, what? That's blank. Oh, no, look, you're going to come. We had a display shirt ready. Like, you can pick your print. You do that. We press it for you. Boom. people start coming, they'll start talking to us. That was my whole thing. They're gonna come talk like, oh, how's this process work? And you know, it was just gonna be word of mouth. My whole idea was, all right, people are gonna start recording us. It's gonna be cool. Well, there's just a bunch of shame going on in the Heights garage right now, man. That it was a bummer. My brother comes out from his time and he's like, I'm gonna help you. And I don't even necessarily ask for his help. I'm like, hey, do you want to come? And he's like, yeah, of course. And that sucked. Like I had him there all day. We were there. We were prepping. He was helping me. He helped me set up and everything like that. So there we are sitting down, like thinking, what are we doing? I was just like, we have a couple shirts that were pre-pressed, but those are mainly East LA and Boyle Heights t-shirts. We were in the arts district of downtown, and not a lot of people, nobody was gonna buy these shirts, right? Like, it's not. Anyways, so I'm like, all right, we emptied out, we cleared out all those colorful shirts, we emptied that out, we put the shirts that we had pressed on, and that was it. And I was like, damn. And the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, this sucks, man. Like, I really wanted to make. No, I mean, the big goal is always to make money, right? You always want to make a profit when you have a small business. And then they say like, oh, you're not going to make a profit for the first like 5 years or something like that. And it's like, all right, whatever. But a win's a win. If we can sell something, it's a win. And while we weren't selling anything, because the shirts that we had on display and that we took, they were targeted to a specific demographic. Like, we're not going to sell East LA shirts to people from the arts district. We're not going to sell Boyle Heights built shirts to people from the arts district. And now we're stuck here with these blank t-shirts and no way to press a City of Angels print on it. And again, no fault to Pedro. Shout out to Pedro. He actually came through. We had a bunch of batteries, and if this would have worked, it would have been on him. So shout out to Pedro. I'm going to hook him up. And I'm just bringing up this story and talking about this week because it's like, man, God, mechanics have feelings too, guys. We hurt just the same way you guys do. You guys come in, bring in your cars, say, hey, I got this problem, and bring in your trucks, I got this problem, this, that, the other. You come back and you're like, it's worse than whatever. Like, you suck. You don't know what you're doing. Hey, we have feelings. It hurts. Not necessarily. We don't really take that stuff personally. But what I'm saying is, like, all the other stuff that's going on in our lives, it's not just us working at a shop. It's not just us working on your specific car. We got other things going on too. All right. So moral of the story is, guys, everything's just a learning process. It's all just a learning experience. Always test your equipment, whether you're heat pressing like we do, you bought a new tool, you have a tool that you haven't used in a while. Test everything. You're going to be a mobile mechanic. You test it, make sure all your batteries are charged like we did. That was one of the steps that we took, and we're like, hell yeah. Pedro was even like, yo, I think this one's dead, check which ones aren't dead or whatever. And that's all it takes. A simple a pre-check of everything, of all your equipment, make sure it's working. And like us, if I would have checked Friday night when I got home from work that the heat press cannot be powered by this Milwaukee inverter, and nothing on the Milwaukee inverter, because this thing's dope. Like it's pretty clunky or whatever, but again, this Milwaukee inverter, it gives it an outlet. It can power a TV. So like if you go camping or something like that, it can power a TV. Or if you're outside barbecuing, it can power a TV. You could probably power an Xbox or something like that. Things like that. It's cool. Something quick, small. It's fine. But not a heat press, not a 16x20 heat press that has to go up to 165 degrees. It's not going to do it. And it's not Milwaukee's fault. This thing wasn't designed to do that. But anyways, always test your equipment. Make sure it works and make sure it's able to accomplish the task that you want it to do. Again, shout out to Pedro. Without him, we wouldn't have even thought of this. And it should have worked. It would have been cool. That too, we use this for our podcast as well. If we're not too close to an outlet, we use the Milwaukee inverter, and it does great. It's perfect. We connected to our recording device, and it works perfectly fine. That's how we did the podcast with Gio, the Stank Torino episode. And if I would have thought of it and charged my batteries, I would have done it with Rogers too, because we did that podcast at work. But with that being said, work, man, it's cool. We had oh man, Speaking of mistakes, all right, let's backtrack. Right, so we made a big mistake, obviously, with this whole pop-up shop. And yeah, like I said, again, any of you small business owners out there thinking of it, it is tough, it is hard. You're gonna take big losses, small losses. You're gonna have big wins, small wins, and it's all just it's all just ups and downs. That's all it comes down to. It's just ups and downs. That's all it is. And we dipped a little bit this weekend, but it's fine because we're gonna pick ourselves up. We're gonna learn from it, and we're gonna continue to keep growing. We are continuing to keep growing with this podcast, with our business, our social media, everything. But so I don't mean to put anybody on blast. All right, we're not gonna say any names or anything like that. But the week's boiling down. We get to Friday. All right, let's dip. Let's get out of here. Let's get this day done with. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? You wake up Monday, you're like, damn, the week. Tuesday, you're like, day 2. Wednesday, you're like, well, we're almost there. Thursday, snap on Thursday. Here we go. Friday comes and we're like, all right, Ozzy from Cornwall's coming. We're going to Nogales. Like we're gonna go into this burger spot, this burger joint. We were slow. We had no trucks on the alignment racks. We had like 1 or 2, so we were getting those done. And our boss tells one of our coworkers, we got to get one of our trucks serviced. Hit that oil change. Now keep in mind, this is one of our new trucks that we had built. So I think it just needed oil change, maybe a couple other little things. And I'm sorry if, again, I don't mean to put you on blast, but so here we go. The story goes. So this is how I'm gonna break it down the way it happened to me, right? I had this truck up. I was talking to Pedro. Pedro came by and this and that, and then one of my other coworkers, Robert, comes walking by and he's like, "Hey, do you know how much transmission oil that truck would take?" And I was like, "What?" And Pedro's looking at him like, "Why would he know?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I've done a couple transmission flushes," and I was like, "I don't know." Like 9 or so, 8 or 9, and he's walking with the transmission fluid, like the 9-10 quarts, the bottles, the red bottles, and he's walking by like, all right, we'll figure it out. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I didn't even think anything up. I was just like, yeah, all right, whatever, you're doing the service. And Pedro's like, did you see what happened? I'm like, what? No, I don't know. He's like, oh, the dude that he's supposed to be on the alignment rack. And Gene was like, you don't have a truck, so go and service that. This one, our international. Well, let's just say he went too far back. He went way too far back. Thought he was draining the oil. Well, he drained a type of oil. He drained the transmission oil. So he drains the transmission oil. And so that happened, whatever. Later on in the day, we're talking about it. We're obviously poking fun. You make a mistake at work, you're going to get made fun of a little bit. But that's what it is, which was a good point that Roger brought up too. He was like, hey, man, you make a big mistake like that. That's one of the mistakes you need to know. Like, we got to bring it up to you. And it's true, because if we would have just been like, hey, man, it's all good, don't worry about it. No, it would have just been, oh, okay. And it is okay because we caught it. But point is, you have to know that that's bad. Like, hey, that's really bad. Because it went from a simple oil change to, a transmission, drain and fill, and an oil change. And this all could have gone really bad if he, anyways. So, yeah, we're talking. We're on our last break. We're all cracking jokes like, oh my God, da da da. Because that too, I ended up doing an oil change real quick, and they were just like, how far back did you go? Make sure it's actual oil. And I was like, yeah, I'm laughing. I'm like, I get it. I make mistakes too. And I was like, yeah, no, I did. And so I'm asking like, wait, hold on. How did we find out that he drained the transmission and not the oil? Like, he was working on it. Did he bring it up himself? Like, what? And so my coworker Robert goes, no, dude. He goes, that he was draining it. And then he goes, damn, Robert, this oil's really clean, man. Why are we even doing the oil change or something like that? Right? Again, I'm paraphrasing, but it basically went down like that. Like, hey, the oil's not even that bad, but all right, I guess I'll change it. And Robert's like, oh, yeah, really? This dude goes, yeah, dude, it's still red. And that the way Robert was like acting it out for us, that he just stopped what he was doing. He was like, it's still red. Like, what? It should not be red. And then he went to go check. He's like, dude, that's the transmission. And I was like, oh man, my bad, bro. Like, whatever. And then that our boss came up and he was like, what's with all this the empty bottles of transmission oil? Why are they, what's up with these red bottles? And that the dude that was working on it was like, oh, man, so my bad. I just drained the transmission. I thought it was the oil, but it was the transmission. And that our boss looked at him with just a very serious stare. One of the ones like, what? And then he looked at it and he was just like, well, that's pretty scary, and just walked away. And we were like, oh my God, like it's funny. It is funny because the way Robert broke it down too was like, the oil's still clean. Why are we even doing this? Oh, I don't know, man, whatever. Yeah, man, it's still red. What do you mean it's still red? It shouldn't be red ever. Even when it's clean, the oil shouldn't be red. So he drained the transmission. We made fun of him a little bit, but he learned from his mistake. You don't go too far back. This and let me tell you, when I was at Firestone, I made that mistake. But to be very clear and very fair, I was working on a newer BMW. Those freaking drain plugs are scary close to each other, and the transmission apparently is like super long because I was at the wheels when I drained it, and I was like, yeah, and it wasn't red. It was not red. All right. I'm not saying this mistake wasn't bad or anything like that. And I'm not making any excuses. I had been there like 2-3 months and I drained this transmission. But to be fair, the drain plugs were very close to each other. And so let me break this. So I did it and I'm like, hell yeah, whatever. And typically, like, European cars, they suck even just doing the oil change, especially BMWs, because they have so much like the skid plate. So you're taking off freaking 20 little bolts, hex bolts, Torx bolts before you even do the oil change, right? So that alone, and you're probably thinking like, oh, it's quick, just do it with like a drill, like a 1/4-inch gun or something. And yes, you could, but even then, that's still like 5 minutes of your time, and it's just taking out bolts for the skid plate for you to get to the oil pan. And so I did that, whatever, and I'm like, so I finally drained it. I'm like, hell yeah, do it. That too, car manufacturers, you fucking engineers that are not putting dipsticks in cars, I hate you with a strong passion. And it's mainly European cars. They don't put a dipstick in the car. So what you do is okay, God, flashbacks, baby, flashbacks. That PTSD is kicking in. So let's get back to the story. Then we'll break down how idiotic and moronic engineers are. So I did it. I drained it. Cool. Again, it wasn't red. It was a dark color. It looked like oil. If anything, the transmission oil, it looks like regular oil. I don't even want to say it was like super dark because it wasn't. It was dirty, but it wasn't like, when it's due for an oil change. And so I drained the transmission, or I drained the oil, or so I thought it was the engine oil. I buttoned it back up. Bloop, 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 bloop. Fill it up. I put like a little bit, and then again. So we're going back to the dipstick. There's no dipstick. There wasn't a dipstick. You turn the car on, and you wait, and you go to like services, you clear that, you go down the menu, and you click oil level, and you're like, all right. So you look at it, and it has a stupid reading, but even then, you have to wait like 15 minutes. So your 15-minute oil change now turns into a 45-minute oil change, and 15 of those minutes is because you have to wait to find the oil level. Stupid, right? Like, what if there's not enough oil and you're letting it run? You still gotta wait 15 minutes for it to tell you like there's not enough oil. You're gonna damage the car. And it's like, bro. Anyways, so when I did it, I didn't know that yet. I did it, and obviously it goes based off the last time it was checked, and it was like, oh, it's full. So I back it out. Cool, we're good. Next car, we give it to the owner. Hey, it's done. I come back like a couple hours later, probably after lunch or something like that. The service writer, which, by the way, that guy too, fuck that service writer. He was a real jerk. And I'm hoping to get a couple people that I used to work with on the podcast, so we cannot talk about him, but so that I can be like, hey, that particular service writer, am I right? Fucking jack off, am I right? This dude was a dick. But anyways, he was like, I don't know what you did to that car, but it's not driving right. You did something wrong. And I was like, bitch, please. I fucking put the oil in it. It's fine. Gave it to our head tech at that time. And dude's like, hey, man, you drained the transmission. And I was like, what? Like, yeah, dude, you drained the transmission. And again, he wasn't yelling, but he was like, yeah, you drained the transmission. And then I overfilled the oil because I thought, so it was like, so one thing's for sure, he had a lot of oil. It could have gone so bad. One, the transmission could have just blown. And then with all the extra oil that I put, it could have just completely blown a bunch of seals and just leaked everywhere. But it didn't. We caught it early and we were just able to fill up the transmission, drain the oil. And again, he only had to do half the oil change because I already did it. So he didn't have to change the filter or anything like that. He just drained the oil, refilled the transmission, sent him on his way. Hey, we probably gave him like, a freaking free service or something like that. Point is, you're always going to make mistakes. I don't care how much experience you have. I don't care how long you've been in the industry. I don't care if you're in your 20th, 30th year, you're about to retire. You're still going to be making mistakes. The difference is whether or not it's going to be a big mistake or a small mistake. So when you first start, you're probably going to make pretty big mistakes. You're going to jack up a car on the oil pan and there's going to be oil everywhere to the point where you're going to, from the stories that I heard, you're going to be on the alignment rack and they're going to be like, hey, we need you to go do something on the floor, and you're going to drill a hole through the engine block. But that's just how it goes. The more experience you gain, the more knowledge you have, and you can prevent this stuff. Like we were talking about with Roger, if we can prevent it early, and if someone at a good shop foreman or a good shop that's being run, they're going to have someone that's going to help you, that's going to help guide you. They have all this experience. They have all this knowledge. They've probably done these mistakes themselves and they've learned from them, and they're going to tell you, hey, on this job you're going to have to do this, but be careful because you might burn a hole through this, or don't do it too deep because it's going to go all the way through the block. Make sure you have this precautions, do this, that, blah blah blah. You're going to make mistakes. And we had a mistake on Friday. Believe me, that's not going to be the last mistake we made. Luckily, it was on our own service truck and we were able to catch it. It was just funny because he was like, yo, man, this oil, why are we even doing the oil change, bruh? It's still clean. Yeah, that red oil is a big indicator that it's not engine oil. But it was funny. The whole way I saw it, it was hilarious because our boss specifically told you, yeah, you're not doing anything. Go do that. Go do that service. Get that oil change done, boy. And like at the end of the day, he put trust in him, and that's fine. That's how you kind of move up into different positions. You're like, oh, I want to start doing this. So, when the time comes, that too, when the time comes, you got to seize the moment, right? You got to seize the moment. Kobe didn't win X amount of rings because he was like, oh, this is the last shot, I'm going to miss it. No, he seized the moment. He executed, right? So when the boss tells you to go do something new, either you fly like Icarus or you sink like the Titanic. Then again, Icarus flew too close to the sun, so you decide. Not a philosophical major or anything like that. I'm just a mechanic. But it was funny because that too, at the end of it, our boss was the one, like, we can put the blame on him. Like, dude, well, why'd you trust this guy? And nothing against this guy either. I don't want to badmouth anybody, but the whole situation was funny. The way Robert explained it, the way Pedro brought up everything, like, hey man, did you see what happened? And the way I was like so oblivious to it, like, what? Like when Robert asked me, like, how many quarts of oil do you? I was just like, I don't know, man, like 8 or 9. And then Pedro's just like, you know why he's asking? Like, why? Oh, he drained the. I was like, oh man, that sucks. But yeah, it happens to everybody. It happened to me, and it can happen to you. Anybody listening? Point is, if there's 2 drain plugs and one of them's further back, it's probably not that one. Don't do the one that's further back. Do the one closer to the front of the car, truck, SUV, engine. Do that, and you'll be all right. And if you don't know, always ask questions. But then there's always those times that you don't know that you don't know. Now, there's a tongue twister for you. There's a little something for you all to think about. But yeah, there is times where you're oblivious to it and you don't know that you're doing something bad. You think that's how it is. That's what you're gonna do, and it's fine. You learn from that too. And that's all it is. That's all anything is. That's all being a small business owner is. That's all being a mechanic is. It's just learning from your mistakes. And if you're not learning from your mistakes, you're inevitably learning from somebody else's mistakes. But that's what makes us better, right? That's what makes us a lot better. How? We were changing the spark plugs on Pedro's Infinity, and I forgot to plug in one of the coils, right? And to be fair, Pedro always says he wanted that 2-step, and I gave him that 2-step. Right? He was spitting flames. He was popping left and right. But yeah, it was because I didn't fully plug it in. But it's all good. Because at that moment, we were like, oh, something's not right. It might have been the spark plugs. We probably gapped them too much. But it wasn't. It was because we left that one loose. He ended up redoing it on the weekend, and it was fine. But at that time, too, I was like, Pedro, it's fine, man. And again, it was my mistake. So, but I didn't know at the time. Anyways, I was like, it's fine, Pedro. When we look back at this day, we're not going to be like, hey, Pedro, remember when we did your spark plugs and it went smoothly and nothing happened? No, we're going to look back and be like, hey, remember that time we tried to do the spark plugs and Alex forgot to turn it on and Pedro's car was just farting left and right and it smelled weird and we kind of panicked, but we were like, hey, let's just put the old spark plugs back on. And then Pedro had to do it again on the weekend, and then he came back and was like, you motherfucker. See, that's all it is. It's all stories. That a month from now, a week from now, we're going to be talking about all our fuck ups, all our mistakes, and we're going to be laughing. Because that's all it is. It's just, they're stories, learning experiences. But I can say, Pedro came up to me when we were going to do the spark plugs and like, can you help me out? I kind of don't really know. Hell yeah, let's get it. And we did it twice that day, technically. And then he did it by himself that weekend. And he did it with no help. I'm hoping. And I'm assuming, but he did it with no help. He was able to get it done on his own, and nothing happened. But that being said, if you want that cheap, quick 2-step, and those of you who don't know, a 2-step tune is when you're able to you press on the gas, do all that, and that's when you get the pops. It's big with them super boys. You just pop, 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 pop. That. All you got to do is unplug one of the ignition coils and you're good to go. That's all it takes. Ask Pedro. Pedro, if you're listening, leave a comment. Be like, yeah, it works. That's all it is. So you want that quick 2-step. You want that cheap 2-step. Hit up the Heights Garage. I'm kidding. But no, there was another mistake. And there it is. Like Pedro thought that out. We technically did like 90% of the job right. It was just that one little loose plug. But we did it. And that too, Pedro didn't know. He thought it was going to be a lot harder. And he looked it up and he was like, oh, I don't know, because I feel bad. G35? He has a G35? G37? Sorry, Pedro. You can, yell at me at work. But he has an Infinity. And if you've seen those Nissan engines, they're kind of intimidating. They have 2 intakes. They have 2 filters. And it's like, man, it's crazy. But everything's under all that. So we had to take a couple hoses off. We had to take the intakes off or partially take them off. And it is pretty intimidating. So Pedro asked my help. He was asking Roger. And Roger was like, oh, come on, man. You just do it like this and this. And so whatever. But that was him deciding like, well, I got to get this done for one. And then 2, he was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but we're going to figure it out. And we did. We all helped him out. I helped him out a little more than anybody else. I also messed up his car a little more than anybody else, but it's okay. But like I said, on that weekend, he came back and told me like, you fucking dick. It was that stupid plug, man. And I was like, oh, my bad, dude. But he did it on his own because he saw us. Well, we all did it together twice and he was able to do it. And now I'm pretty sure he's super confident in doing that. And it's another skill. It's all just learning. And that's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing in the shop. That's what we're doing with this podcast. We're learning. We understand that we get more listeners when we have a guest and we talk about them. We talk about their backgrounds and stuff like that. Because it's interesting, right? Because I'm genuinely interested. When I talk to Roger, yeah, I talked to him in the shop here and there, but I hadn't gotten too into depth, right? Like every time we have a conversation and it's going good and stuff like that in the shop, and I'm talking about with everybody, it's kind of interrupted with a little thing called work, because we are there to work. We are there to make the company money, make ourselves money, this, that, and the other. So we can't sit down together during work and have an hour-long conversation about, oh, like, what do you, so, we get little snippets, we get little bits. So I had known a couple things about Roger from what he told me. I don't want to sound like a creep or anything like that, but from what he told me, the little conversations that we had, I knew, hey, oh, he had shop class in high school. When he was at his friend's wedding, he told us like, oh, trip out, I saw my old shop class teacher and this and that, and so we were able to get some stuff like that. And then when it came to the episode with Gio, I had been keeping up with him. We kind of barely, like super rarely, kept in touch. Oh, cool, what's up, that's dope, this, that. But yeah, and I knew all this stuff, and obviously I saw him on Donut Media. I don't watch Dustin Williams's YouTube videos or anything like that, but again, I wouldn't have known that Gio was on his YouTube channel because he called him Johnny and he didn't put up his Instagram handle. So nothing against Dustin Williams. It's just that is what it was. That's what Gio told us. But yeah, I'm sure Gio's grateful for Dustin Williams. I am grateful that he was on our podcast. I'm grateful that Roger was on our podcast. I'm grateful that my brother was on the podcast. If you haven't heard that episode, go back. It's that wax on, wax off hitter. My brother's a mobile detailer. That's his personal business. I help him out with it too when he needs the extra hands. But yeah, we understand that you guys want to hear other people. I don't necessarily like talking about myself either. I like engaging in conversation. I like talking, yes, but I don't like talking about myself. It's kind of weird. And then when we got to listen to it back, we do a playback. It's like, oh, I don't like doing that. Because I don't know, it makes me, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, it makes me sound like a douche, right? Like I'm sitting here listening to what I'm saying by myself, making sure it sounds pretty good. Again, we're still learning. We're trying to get everything down. And yes, video, that's big. We're trying to get on that. But for now, we appreciate all the feedback. A lot of people, they listen to it when they're at work. I know a couple of my coworkers, they do say that. Or Pedro, we're back on schedule, baby. Mondays are podcast Mondays for Pedro when he's driving home, and then Tuesdays are cumbia days, and then Wednesdays I think are country. I don't know. I'm probably mixing this up, but he, podcast Mondays, so they drop. But he listens to them when he, drives home from work. Other people listen to them when they can in their car. A buddy of mine says, he listens to it when he's at work, and that's what I do. That's when I listen to my podcast. I listen, not our specific podcast, but the podcast that I follow, Spike's Car Radio, The Smoking Tire, The Fighter and the Kid, This Past Weekend, Your Mom's House, Bertcast. I listen to those throughout the week when I'm at work, because I'm not necessarily, not that I'm not doing anything, but like when I'm home, I'm eating, I want to, talk to my family. When I'm on lunch, I want to enjoy my food, things like that. And it's just something I like having in my ear, in the background while I'm working. It's just easier for me. And so this friend of ours, that's what he does. He told me, we were talking this past weekend. Haha. Shout out to Theo Vaughn. And we were talking this past weekend, and he was telling me, like, I love that episode. I really like the episode with Gio. Like, that was cool. I like, he was, little things like, oh, you should keep doing it. Like, I like that. He's like, yeah, I listen to it when I'm at work, when I'm doing stuff. I just have it in, and that's what I'm listening to. So shout out to you. I don't necessarily want to bring your name in. You know who it is. I saw you this past weekend. And yeah, thank you guys just for all the support, all the feedback. And comment. If you guys want to comment, you guys have any questions, you can DM us at The Heights Garage on Instagram, at The Heights Garage on TikTok, or you can follow and like us on Facebook at The Heights Garage Co. LLC, and message us there too. If you have any questions, we would love to have a segment of questions. We would like to end the podcast with a couple questions with our guests, and they can hop in on this. So send us your questions, whether it's something car related, tool related, I guess kind of like business related, or even like anything, hey, what do you think about, the new Toyota Tacoma, which, my God, guys. Now we're Toyota boys over here. All right, me, my brother, my cousin. Shout out to Big John. Shout out to Pablo. We're Toyota boys. We rep that TRD, son. You know, we rep that TRD, and let me tell you, Toyota just know that they're just hitting. Am I right? You seen that GR Corolla just hitting? They heard everybody like, "Hey, when are you gonna make this the new Supra manual?" And they're like, "Boys, we got it on lock. Manual Supra, a 3-cylinder GR Corolla turbocharged, 3 cylinders. You kidding me? All-wheel drive." And now they bring out this. Oh, hold on. Then the Tundra did a facelift on the Tundra. At first, I was kind of like, but beautiful, a beautiful truck. And then they go, "Hey guys, we're not done. Just wait. That Tacoma, we know it's got a big following, and you guys, we got something nice. 4-cylinder. I think it's twin turbocharged, but it's turbocharged. I don't really know. But that TRD Pro, my God, there's shocks in the seats, son. Shocks in the seats that you can fix. Not fix, but man, I'm so excited. You can adjust them. They're like coilovers. You can adjust them. The stiffness. Hey, you want them hard? You want them soft? Whatever you're feeling the day. You know, whatever you're feeling on that day. You want to go hard, son? You want to be a little soft boy? It's up to you. Shocks in the seats. Are you kidding me? So, and the whole thing is, the videos I saw, it's from when you go off-roading and stuff like that, or you're on a bumpy road. Well, what will make the drive more comfortable so you're not shocks in the seats. Shocks in the seats on this new Toyota Tacoma. That thing's nice. God, dude, it's Toyota. Keep it up. Keep it up, Toyota. And I believe they're even going to offer it in a manual. In a manual transmission. Manual 6-speed transmission. God, I love me some Toyota. Oh, where was I going with this? Yeah, questions. Something like that. Obviously, you bring up the Tacoma, we're going to have some fun with it. But send us in your questions. You can even email us at the heisgarage@gmail.com. Send in an email with your question. Even if it's something simple about oil, what tires, what tools we have, toolbox. Do you think we should go on the tool truck, Harbor Freight? And you know, your boys over here at the Heights Garage love some Harbor Freight. My brother even said it for his mobile detailing business. That's how he started. That's how he's running it. That's how it's going. Harbor Freight, baby. But, you know, there's nothing like having that nice snap-on ratchet in your hand. You just, the metal. But send us your questions. Any questions. Well, not any questions. I mean, car-related in the industry. Things like that. And we'd love to do a segment, you know, whether if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something small, something big, a whole episode, the end of an episode, the beginning of an episode. We'd love to answer questions. It would be fun. And we would, it's just something more direct so that we know that what we're talking about is actually helping you guys out. So hit us up at the Heights Garage on Instagram, TikTok. Like and follow us on Facebook at the Heights Garage Co. LLC, or you can email us your questions at the Heights Garage at gmail.com. Whatever you do, just send us your questions. Head over to theheightsgarage.com to support our brand, our business. We're also, since we dropped the ball on this past pop-up shop, we're going to be doing something live on either Instagram or TikTok or something. We're going to be doing live heat pressing. There's going to be a bunch of sales. Not a bunch of sales, but we're going to be doing special gifts for shirts if you're watching us do it and stuff like that, and you order within that time limit or that time slot. And just support our brand. It helps build our podcast. It helps build our name. And eventually, with all your guys' support, we can quit our jobs, do this full time, and it'll be a better production. We already have in our head, like, oh man, we want it to look like this. We want to do this. We have all this, but again, it's a battle. It's a learning experience, and it's not too expensive, but at the same time, like, you know, adult responsibilities. I can't just abandon everything. But we appreciate the support you guys are giving us right now. We appreciate all the feedback, whether it's good, bad. You guys are laughing, crying. Come cry with us. Let's learn about some cars. Let's get our hands dirty. Let's get out there, keep wrenching, keep the world moving. Send us your questions. And above all, always, keep it Boyle Heights built.